Why play? I don't know, I guess it helps me think again. No, that's stupid. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's like my fix. It's like I tried for a long, long time to figure out something that would get all the stuff that had me worried and anxious and just kind of clear out of my mind. And when that didn't work, it just kept building and building and building until it just released when I exhaled. And I had to figure out a way to just get past all of it. And I mean, the only thing I could think about was just to physically run. Because after a while, all this stuff that just keeps building up over and over again inside of you, it's scarred. And it kept coming down and harder and harder. And it was like, what was wrong with me? Why was this bugging me so much? I mean, this was my dad. And all I could do was talk about his soft tissue sarcoma diagnosis like I was an anchorman on the news talking about the rain the next morning. You know? No expression. I mean, wasn't I supposed to cry? Wasn't I supposed to feel something? It never really clicked until, I guess, until I pick up a football and I just run. Run as far as I can, run past everything that I think is going to happen, and just keep going and going and going until finally, as soon as I hit the end, it snaps and slams into me. And everything I can think about since the day we found out he was first diagnosed, and you know, when he had chemo for the first time, and I saw my big, 6'5" dad confined to a bed. And I mean, we found out on Thanksgiving that it wasn't going to go away, and eventually 2 weeks before school happened, he passed. And it's like every time I play football, and even though it was a sport that, I mean, he taught me and we both loved it, I can feel again, you know? It's like all those layers of stuff that I don't want to think about, but I really should. They just kind of dissolve, you know? And I mean, it's what he would want. He would want me to have fun. He'd want me to, run and do stuff like that. And I deal with it. I move on and I survive. It's pretty cool. Spent all morning getting ready for this. I have a red bow in my hair, I have red tights and a red dress, and I even have red lipstick. But you know what? It's not on my lips. It's on my cheek and a heart. Because hearts are red, so it just makes perfect sense, right? Red's kind of like my favorite color. But it's not Megan's favorite color. Megan likes blue. I mean, I guess Megan's kind of weird, but I like her. Because, well, she's the first friend I've had who doesn't make things weird, you know? Like if I can't come over someday to play or whatever because my dad's, taking a nap all day and my mom can't drive me out, that's not weird. Or, I mean, if seeing stuff like straws makes me kind of anxious, because straws remind me of tubes, and tubes remind me of the last time that I visited my dad in the hospital, and I really don't like tubes. But I don't know. Mara's favorite color is blue. She says blue brings out her eyes, like the sky, but I think blue brings out her veins. Because you want to know something really cool? Okay, so if you look at your arm really closely, kind of like Mara's, because her skin, she's got like really like bulgy veins. If you can see them, they look really blue. Okay, and it's just cool because like you can see all these little veins just jumbled in and out, over under each other. And it's just like this big blue mess. But if you were to like go in the hospital and see when they have the tubes that are like in your arms or something, the stuff coming out of them, the blood coming out of them, it's actually red. And last time I was in there with when my dad was he was in there for some reason, but the nurses told me that the blood, it's always red. It always will be red, and it's going to stay red, even though it looks like it's blue when it's coming out of your arm. And blood is just really awesome if you think about it. When my mom asked me what color I wanted to wear to his memorial, I said red, because red is the color of blood, and it's the color of hearts, so that must make it the color of love, right? Oh, yeah, that's my yearbook picture from second grade. I mean, why did they make second graders have yearbook pictures anyway? It just doesn't make sense. Who's going to remember that? And, I mean, it wasn't supposed to look that bad. Honest. So I went in 2 weeks before for a haircut, right? My dad took me to Cost Cutters, and everything was going just fine. And, you know, the shampooing was perfectly fine, and then she brought out the scissors, and it felt kind of nice, because, like, she was running her hands through my hair, and I was getting, like, a little massage, and things were going really good. And it wasn't until the lady, like, took out her scissors and made this tiny little snip that I just lost it. I just bolted out of the chair and started running. And instead of making that snip for, like, you know, an inch off my hair, which would be normal, she took 9 inches off. And, I mean, I guess I know why I did it, because I don't know, it was a week before I got my hair cut. I came home from school, right, to get ready for karate. And I was looking for my mom, because I needed to figure out where, I don't know, like my karate belt or something was. I was an orange belt, which was really cool, because I just moved up from yellow belt, which meant that I was getting even better. And so I was really concerned because I couldn't find my orange belt. And so I was running around trying to find my mom. And she wasn't there, which was kind of weird. But then when I went downstairs to see who was, there was this lady in the kitchen with short black hair. My mom has long blonde hair. I didn't know who this person was. So I just started screaming, "Mom! Mom, where are you? Who is this?" And I just started screaming at the top of my lungs, like really, really loudly. And then the lady, I guess, was on the phone, and she turned around, and that was my mom. But she had short black hair. So I was really confused. And I was like, "Mom, why did you cut your hair when I left? Like, what happened?" And she was just like, "No, honey, it's a wig." And she took off her hair, just like it was a hat. And I just started freaking out a little bit, because I wasn't expecting that. And she's like, "No, look, see, I have a whole bag of them." And she pulled out this bag of different hairs. And there was red hair, and there was blonde hair, and there was brown hair, and there was, you know, like black hair, like the one she was wearing, and there was even a rainbow wig. And she asked me if I wanted to try them on with her. So she started, you know, trying them on and talking in silly voices and all that stuff, which was really cool. And like, if I was playing dress up, that would be awesome. But I wasn't playing dress up, and this person with rainbow hair and talking like in a silly voice like this, that wasn't my mom. And I guess she noticed that something was kind of weird, because I just got really antsy, and she gave me like a hug and sent me off to karate. And I guess that's why 2 weeks later, when we were at Cost Cutters, I ended up with a haircut that was a very stylish bowl cut, and I kept that up until, I don't know, junior high or so. So I looked like a boy for most of elementary school, which explains that. But I mean, the plus side, I didn't have to get a haircut until 5th grade, which was pretty awesome. But like, even though she's in remission now and everything's fine, I still kind of hate haircuts, and I don't think that's gonna change. Big Friendly Giant. So I Googled it, and apparently it's this book by Roald Dahl, where this guy, the Big Friendly Giant, befriends this girl, Sophie, and apparently they like worked together to save the human race from being eaten by giants from Giant Country. Except the big friendly giant isn't one of those giants because he's nice and he likes humans. But it's kind of cool. I liked it. Anyway, I only know about the big friendly giant because or BFG because he was a counselor of mine at this camp when I was a little kid, and it was just really cool because like we met. He wasn't with my unit, but I wasn't feeling well that day, so I guess I was just. It was like Olympics or something like that, and the theme of the year was superheroes. So all the counselors were dressed up in different superhero costumes, and my favorite superhero was running around like the Flash, super fast, and I was just kind of like, you know, really, I was so psyched about this because he was my favorite superhero of all time, and when I wasn't feeling well, I was really bummed because I wouldn't get to go to the Flash's station to like do his little game with him. But he noticed that I wasn't feeling well and offered to flash me over to the med tent, which was really cool. So I got flashed over to the med tent, and I sat there and like checked me out and stuff. And after a while, it was kind of deemed that, you know, I was going to be okay. So we were walking back over to the cabins. It was supposed to be like snack time, so everyone was supposed to eat something, but I didn't really want to eat anything. I wanted to be the Flash's sidekick. And so I took my jacket and I like tied it around my neck so it looked like a super cool cape, and we just ran around camp the entire afternoon, just running places. Like, I don't think we even had anything in mind. We didn't even do anything. We just ran up and down and all over the Olympics and didn't even go to any of the stations, and it was just... It was the coolest thing because this guy was like the nicest guy ever. I mean, no one had a problem with him. Everyone liked him. And he was just, I don't know, like, we were the Flash. And it's really cool to go to a place like that every year where you just see a bunch of, you know, older people, I guess they're adults, who are just so nice. And, I don't know. They make you feel like a big friendly giant too. So, yeah, he was a really cool guy. I don't like being called Charlotte. I like Charlie. One time, this girl at school, she wouldn't stop calling me Charlotte, so I decided I was just going to ignore her and pretend that she wasn't there. Except, we were playing tag, and she kept yelling, Charlotte, really loud, really, really loud, and I got tagged out, and I was so mad that I forgot to ignore her and turned around and said, my name is Charlie. And then our teacher, Mrs. Parsons, put me on a timeout. I don't really like her either. But, I mean, it's just... Charlotte sounds like a princess name, you know? Like, you know, someone who would sit and watch Disney movies. And my mom and my dad told me, they were like, you know, Charlotte, your name is beautiful, and your dad and I picked this name because you are beautiful and you're a very special little girl. Except, I mean, I don't really like that sort of special little girl princessy feel, because princesses are kind of boring, you know? And after a while, like, all that princessing, it just, what, they don't really do a whole lot, and all the sparkles that they have through all the time, have you ever, like, wearing sparkles itches a lot. I found some in my hair after I wore a dress, like, for Halloween, too, which was just not cool. But, I don't know. My mom still calls me her little princess, which kind of bugs me, because, like, if you think about it, princesses are only princesses because their daddies were kings, right? So they have to inherit the kingdom from them. But, I mean, right now, my daddy's he's in a lot of doctor's appointments. And princessing doesn't really help if I don't really know where he's going to be all times. And there are all these things that are going on that my mom doesn't want to talk to me about because she says I'll learn them when I'm older. And princessing doesn't really help when you know, your dad's definitely not okay and you don't really know if there's anything you can do about it, but you're just told that you're a little princess and that you don't need to worry about it. But you know, ninjas on the other hand can do things. Like if there's a problem and a ninja doesn't like it, a ninja can just karate chop his weight in half, and it's totally fine. And like no one's gonna mess with a ninja, because if you see a ninja, do you really want to get on their bad side? I don't think so. And like they're just so, you know, nothing bad is gonna happen to them. And if you think that something bad's gonna happen, they're just gonna like, you know, disappear, and nothing will ever find them. And they don't even cry because they just, you know, they're just so tough all the time. And I mean, Charlotte may be a princess, but Charlie is a ninja. Well, I guess, I mean, dives are kind of weird because there's nothing that you really need to do with it, except you kind of line up your toes in the very edge, and you put your hands over your head in this V, and you got to make sure you tuck your chin down or else it's going to hurt really bad. And you just kind of push off. I mean, it looks really scary when you first do it, but once you get underwater, there's just like this smooth, rippling calm that closes around you. And you just see the rest of the pool in front of you, like daring you to just chop it up and keep going. And you go all the way until you hit the wall, and then you have to do a flip turn. I hate flip turns. And it's not because, like, I mean, when you go into a flip turn, you just have this water that shoots up your nose and stays in your nose like permanent snot for the rest of the time you're swimming, which really sucks. And it's not because, like, you have to contort yourself into a tiny little ball to, like, try and keep going. But it's because when you flip turn, you almost have to look at your butt.
Yeah.
And it's not that, like, my butt's bad or anything. Like, it's fine. It's just that your butt, well, at least, well, I found out in biology the other day, your butt is where your colon is. And, like, I mean, so at least when I was talking with my parents about, they were trying to explain colon cancer to me, because my mom has colon cancer, they just were saying that, like, the cancer was in her butt. So what that means is, like, if she goes in to, you know, have, like, chemotherapy done, doctors look at her butt. And like, you know, if they're gonna do something, they're gonna have to, you know, do something to her butt. So, like, if you think about it, that makes going to the bathroom really hard. And, like, that was all I could think about when I mean, even though she was only, like, a stage 2, it wasn't that serious, but that was all I could think about whenever they talked about, like, going to the bathroom and stuff, because I was like, oh, you have to use your colon for that. And every single time I went to the bathroom, all I would think about when I was going to the bathroom, especially number 2, was like, okay, this is not what you think it is. You're doing your business, but you don't need to think about that right now, because if you think about that, you're gonna think about all the other things that are gonna happen with that, and, like, it's not even that serious. It's only like a stage 2. It's gonna be gone pretty soon. There's gonna be surgery. It's nothing. It's gonna be fine. And the fact that all your friends freak out because it's cancer doesn't actually mean anything. But I still kept my eyes closed every time I used the bathroom, at least for a month. And I mean, it got better. It was totally fine. Like, right now, I totally just use the bathroom, eyes were wide open the whole time, and it's great. It's really great. But that helped. And I mean, you know, if you want to try keeping your eyes closed for other stuff, like with flip turns, that could help too. You know, there's no crying in baseball. At least, that's what Derek said after Jamie tagged him out that one time, which makes a lot of sense, because, like, if you started crying because you're mad because you got out or something, and you just, like, get all watery-eyed, then your vision gets blurry and you can't hit the ball, and, like, what's the point of being on the field anyways? It's kind of hard to cry any place without, you know, getting stared at a lot, except for, well, there's this one time where Derek and I went to camp together, and, like, it was kind of a special camp. It was a camp for kids whose parents had cancer, I guess. And Derek was talking about his dad having cancer, and he started to cry. and no one made fun of him. In fact, right after he started talking, a counselor, an old counselor with a beard, started to talk about his mom having cancer, and he started crying. And, like, no one made fun of him either. I mean, people were crying in a room, and there was no one laughing at them. It was so weird. And, like, but it just made me realize that we had something in common, you know? Like, I mean, baseball's awesome, but baseball, it's kind of cool when you can, like, play baseball with someone, and if you're talking about something like, I guess, I don't know, cancer that's hard to talk about or kind of weird to talk about with people who don't understand, you know that they get it. Because, like, you can describe it, and you can, you know, look it up, and you can research it and try and figure out what it is, but if you talk about it with someone who knows what it's like to live with it, they really get it. And the coolest part was that at this place, at this camp, it wasn't just the kids that got it, but it was grown-ups too. And it was grown-ups who like cried. Never would have thought that would happen. It's a bit shorter than I anticipated, which is probably good for, you know, anyone who's feeling a little antsy. But because all of you helped out in one way or another with its creation, I sincerely hope that you guys enjoyed it. As you can tell from, I guess, a little director's note that I had in the program, I had a very personal tie to this show. It was kind of my way of saying thank you to the Kesson community, because when I joined as a counselor 3 years ago, I was joining in the midst of my mom's stage 3 colon cancer diagnosis. And since then, it's jumped to a stage 4 metastatic diagnosis, and probably the biggest impact that has been had on my life, I guess, the past 4 years has been being a counselor in Camp Kesson, because just being around all of you guys and your families and seeing how resilient everyone is, and just how like kooky you are and how much fun you can have, it's really made an incredible difference in my life. So this was kind of doing what I could to be able to say thank you and create something that would hopefully bring more people to get to know what Kesson's all about. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being here.